incident line is there for all event teams. If there is an immediate threat to someone's welfare at parkrun, or there is actually a critical incident. The critical incident line is rostered each weekend with critical incident line ambassadors who are there to support you with the help that you need. They can provide you with the ICE contact details for the person who is at risk so that you can get in contact with their family should you need to. The call to the critical incident line will also alert parkrun staff, at which stage we will become involved and get in contact with you on the Saturday to see what support you may need, or also any support that anyone that assisted with the critical incident may need as well. And that support may go into the following week, it may go longer, but it's just knowing that we're aware of the situation and here to support you. Junior Parkrun, we have a couple of 100 events in the UK and just a handful of Junior Parkrun events in Australia. Junior Parkrun is for children 4 to 14 years of age on a Sunday morning. The beauty of Junior Parkrun for children is that they can run alone. What that does add though is a level of complexity with our volunteers at Junior Parkrun. So here in Australia, all of our volunteers at Junior Parkrun must have a working with children check, which in New Zealand is a police vet. They all have to have that check. Also prior to the event on a Thursday night, all Junior Parkrun volunteer rosters need to be complete and all volunteers need to have that police vet. In New Zealand it would be called. We do a pre-event check of the volunteer roster to make sure that everyone is okay and validated to be on the roster. We then also do a post-event check on the Monday to ensure that all of those volunteers were approved to be volunteering at Junior Parkrun. Also, when it comes to marshals at Junior Parkrun, you do have to have a marshal positioned every 100 metres from the next marshal and within line of sight of that marshal as well. So it is a little bit more complex than a 5K. Junior Parkrun in New Zealand, is it possible? Absolutely not taking it off the table. What's happening here in Australia at the moment is we are doing a review of working with children, or likened to police vet in New Zealand, of those conditions, what they mean to Junior Parkrun, and whether we can scale Junior Parkrun with those conditions. So we will get to a point where we will review what that means for Junior Parkrun. Will Junior Parkrun grow in Australia? Will it stay as it is, or will it cease to operate? That's all to come. A decision on Junior Parkrun in New Zealand will be made after that, once we know that how it operates here in Australia is here for the long term. If you have children that you identify under 11 running at parkrun without their designated adult, we absolutely want you to report that. Simply pop in an incident report through the system. Ideally, if you can recognise who should be supervising that child, we'd love you just to have a quiet, polite chat to them. Make sure they're aware of our policy and why we have the policy. It is purely for the safety of their child. So yep, if you can, have a quiet little chat with them to the side, pop an incident report in. If it continues to happen, we still want you to submit an incident report, and that's where Parkrun head office will become involved. We find more often than not that's not necessary. As soon as people are aware of the policy, they'll generally make sure that their child's supervised by a designated adult. Parkrun courses can absolutely be on a trail. Primary concern there is risk. But no matter whether you're running along a path in the park or a trail in the bush, all parkrun events do need to be risk assessed. So you might have some additional risks to consider. The terrain will obviously be different than a path in the park, but it's absolutely welcome. We may ask you to present photos or video if we're unable to get out there and actually have a look at the location. Your event ambassador is also there to support you. They're very experienced, so they can pop out and have a look at as well. One thing we do like you to consider though is accessibility to everyone. We do like our courses to be accessible, so just keep that in mind. But as long as it's deemed safe from a risk assessment point of view, then we're absolutely open to having parkruns on trails. No plans to change the start time of parkrun. There in New Zealand, you do have a handful of events on the South Island that do have a later start time in winter, purely for safety reasons. Would we change the start time across the country or at different events? No. Reason being is that we have conducted surveys in the past, and what we've found is that a time that may suit one person doesn't suit the next person. So one time's never going to suit 100% of the people, but what we do find is the time that it operates allows someone to select whether they'll go to parkrun on any given Saturday. They know it's the same time, same place, and if it works in with their lifestyle, then parkrun's there for them on a Saturday morning. When a new inquiry comes through to us at Parkrun, we do supply them with a 7-page prospective new event checklist. That checklist covers that initial contact with Parkrun head office, a prospect code of conduct to ensure that they know what is expected of them as a Parkrun volunteer, and then takes them through things such as course design, funding, which, as you know, in New Zealand there, you don't need to worry about at the moment. It also goes through building a volunteer team, which is a really critical part of starting a new event team. So we support you through that. Through the new event process, we'll also put you in touch with an event ambassador, and that's a local volunteer on the ground there in New Zealand, very experienced at parkrun and supporting events, and they'll support you through the process. From time to time, we will get a new inquiry, and there may be an existing parkrun event literally just down the road. What we find there is that parkrunners tend to like their home parkrun, and we don't really see a massive shift in people relocating to a new parkrun. So we understand there could be some concerns around maybe the volunteers that are in an existing event relocating to a new event. Again, we find that doesn't really happen. The new parkrun event and the existing one will have their own, I guess, culture and core group of volunteers. There may be a little bit of movement. Obviously, it might be one of your regular volunteers that sees the opportunity to start a new parkrun down the road. But as I said, if we've got a new prospect event team, we've got a really core, important section in there around building a strong event team so that both those events are sustainable in the community. Our COVID-19 guidance recommends 1 barcode scanner per 50 finishes. The best way to do this, we find, is to have 1 or 2 barcode scanners on your roster leading into the event. And it's a great opportunity for people as they finish their 5K to jump in and grab their phone. Virtual Volunteer app is really helpful with that. Grab their phone and help scan after they've finished their 5K. We also find that this is a great gateway for people with volunteering. You might have people that love their 5K run and volunteering's not something that they've sort of sparked an interest in before, but if they grab their phone and help barcode scan, you might find that that'll open up a world of other volunteer opportunities for them. Storing event equipment can vary from event to event. What we really recommend is to keep it simple. So Parkrun will supply you with all the equipment needed to deliver a safe event. What we don't encourage you to do is to add to that kit unnecessary items. What we ask you to consider is that your event team will have to store that equipment between each Saturday, also carry it to and from the location, and also you'll set up and pack down after the event. As for a storage system as such, or a container or a bag, we find that individual events will find what works best for them. Some will use grocery bags, some will use an old suitcase, some might have a trolley on wheels. It really comes down to what works best for the event. From time to time, we will have an event team come to us that needs to change or move their course. This could be at a landowner request, or it could simply be that you've now identified something on the course that is not safe. It might even be that there's some construction taking place. What we do ask is that when a new event starts, is that we're looking at that course from a longevity point of view. We want that course to be sustainable for the lifetime of the event, and only really want to have to move them if it's critical and it's going to impact the safety of participants. If you do recognise that your course does need to change or relocate, we do ask that you work with your event ambassador, get in touch with us here at Parkrun head office, and we'll support you through the process. As mentioned earlier, Parkrun does provide every new event with all the equipment needed to deliver a safe event. We do understand from time to time that you'll recognise a piece of equipment that you might like to have at your event that might actually help you or help your event team with storage, for example. As most of you will be aware, we do not have a bank account in New Zealand, so we're unable to secure any local funding or support in that manner in New Zealand currently. What we can do though is we can support you to contact your local Bunnings or similar if they hold the piece of equipment that you need, and we can ask them for a donation. I'm really pleased to say that we've actually had an event in Auckland get some equipment from Bunnings there just over the last 2 weeks, which is fabulous. We find Bunnings here in Australia is extremely supportive of parkrun as well, so we can reach out to organisations like that to help us. At the end of the day, if there's something that's critical for your event, for the safe delivery, if we can't get it donated, then Parkrun APAC will absolutely supply it to you. New parkrun event inquiries come into us very regularly, quite often after a Saturday when someone's been inspired by the local parkrun that they've attended. The inquiry comes through to us here in the Parkrun APAC team. We send the person who has inquired some information about starting a parkrun. That includes the new event checklist that we mentioned earlier, so that they know what's involved in starting a parkrun. We also include the prospective event director code of conduct, so that they know they are going to be representing parkrun as a volunteer, and also a short video about what's involved in starting a parkrun in your community. That information is sent to what we would call a prospect. If they think it sounds interesting and they're keen to start a parkrun in their community, they'll sign and return the prospect code of conduct to us. At that stage, we'll put them in touch with a local event ambassador who will support them through the process of identifying a course, risk assessing that course, building a core volunteer event team, and then it'll get to a point where they're ready to submit the paperwork to us here at Parkrun, and then we'll agree on a launch date. Parkrun has steered away from using timing chips and mats that you see in marathons and such. I guess the primary reason for this is parkrun for us is all around the personal touch. So if we had a timing mat, I wouldn't get to scan someone at the end of parkrun and use their name. That's really important for some people. What we need to remember is that parkrun on a Saturday morning could be the only social contact someone has with their community each week, or even on a Saturday. So we just find it's really important that if we have those volunteers, someone finishes, token gets handed to them, you say, great run, great walk today. They go across to barcode scanning. I can use their name, and it just makes a great social connection. Currently across New Zealand we have 14 active prospects, so they are prospective event directors that are being supported by event ambassadors currently across the country. What we have found is that since our recent visit to Auckland, Christchurch and Wellington, we have had an increase in inquiry for new events, so we hope to see that 14 active prospects will grow soon. As a general rule, we discourage event teams from changing their course location or their course. There are two primary reasons though why sometimes it's absolutely necessary that happens, and that will be because a landowner approaches you and asks for the course to be moved, and of course we need to respect that. The other reason may be that after the course has been in operation for some time, we do identify that there's a safety risk, or more so the event team will identify that there's a safety risk. So in those cases, we'll absolutely look at and support you through changing the course as necessary. What we ask you to do is get in touch with your event ambassador as a first point of contact and review those changes. Get in touch with us as well at event support at parkrun.com as soon as you can, and let us know what the scope of those changes are, what you have in mind, what the proposal is. That way we've got plenty of time to support you through the process. That will include conducting a new risk assessment and submitting that to Parkrun, and also in some cases it will involve website updates as well. From time to time, an event will ask if they can have permanent signage installed at their event. This request may come from a landowner. We don't approve permanent signage at Parkrun, and that's for several reasons. One is to protect the Parkrun brand. The Parkrun brand and logo should only be used with permission from Parkrun. We also don't want to create expectations. So if one Parkrun event has permanent signage, we'll find that the next Parkrun event will want it as well, and that's just not scalable and sustainable across all Parkrun communities. If a landowner is adamant that they do want to put Parkrun or course signage out on a course, they absolutely can. We just ask that the Parkrun brand is not appended to that signage. Parkrun Australia event teams have recently all received new volunteer vests. They are a waistcoat style, and this is part of the Medibank Presents Parkrun partnership here in Australia. The long-term goal would be that we would supply that style of vest across the APAC region. At the moment, we've supplied all other events and junior events in Australia, outside of Australia, 5K events with the waistcoat style tailwalker and parkwalker vests. At the moment, we do still have the orange vest in stock, and so that will, for the time being, continue to be provided to New Zealand events, Singapore, Malaysia, and also the junior events here in Australia. As I said, there's a massive cost involved. We will look at it when we need to replace the stock of the orange vest. The beauty of the waistcoat, which I'm sure you all know, is they're great over a big puffer vest in winter, and they're a lot more inclusive.